Donald Trump's lawyers have pointed to President Joe Biden's pardon of his son Hunter to have his hush money case dismissed, and they argue that the district attorney engaged in the same type of political theatre that Joe Biden condemned when he was pardoning his son for federal gun and tax convictions. Look, Trump, as we know, was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in a New York court, but sentencing has been indefinitely delayed. And his lawyers say that this is the same DOJ that coordinated and oversaw the politically motivated election interference, witch hunts targeting President Trump by disgraced special counsel Jack Smith, the other biased prosecutors in the Smith special counsel's office. Look, what are your thoughts? Firstly, I want to get your thoughts on Joe Biden's pardon of his son Hunter, but also, is this a fair point from Donald Trump's lawyers?
Well, I want you to know that many of us have been expecting this, especially because President Biden kept saying that he wouldn't do it. We know President Biden does not follow through on his word. And of course, in the dwindling days of his presidency, he decides to issue a full and unconditional pardon. That is important. It wasn't just for the crimes where Hunter Biden has pled guilty or the ones for which he's been convicted. It encompasses all of the crimes dating back to January 1st, 2014. Hunter Biden went on to the board of Burisma, which was that Ukrainian energy company, in April of 2014. And the laptop records reveal that there were many exchanges between Chinese, Romanian, and Ukrainian nationals and Hunter Biden and his business associates to give them money in return for introductions alone. So I think, to answer your question, yes, Donald Trump's legal counsel has a very good point here. And what I will also say is that hush money is not a crime. You mentioned there that he was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records. They did a spectacular amount of legal gymnastics to say that it constituted a campaign violation, which was bogus. So here we have an actual criminal who was pardoned and someone who isn't a criminal who was made a felon.
Yeah, and look, it's really interesting you mentioned the dates there. Why did Joe Biden's pardon date back to 2014? It raises a lot of eyebrows. Look, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says that he's open to deporting migrants from New York City who've been charged with crimes, which is a shift from his previous stance of waiting for convictions. Here he is.
Those who are here committing crimes, robberies, shooting at police officers, raping innocent people, have been a harm to our country. I want to sit down and hear the plan on how we're going to address them. Those are the people I am talking about, and I would love to sit down with the Board of Czar and hear his thoughts on how we're going to address those who are harming our citizens.
Certainly strong language from Eric Adams there, and a good thing for New York City.
Certainly. I've been in New York City a lot over the past year, and it is terrible. You go onto the subway and the doors close, and all of a sudden these migrant children sit up and they chant snacks, 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 and they walk around selling you snacks. It's terrible. The city is overrun with the migrants. And I find it to be interesting that finally this Democrat, Mayor Adams, has come out and stated the obvious. It's a huge about face from his earlier policies when he was giving taxpayer money to migrants, prepaid debit cards, $55 million in prepaid debit cards. They were in hotels, they were in churches, synagogues, and mosques. And, some are saying that the reason that Mayor Adams is doing this is because, of course, it's turned out to be such a disaster, but also because the Biden administration's Department of Justice recently unsealed an indictment against Mayor Eric Adams for taking bribes from Turkey. And that was after Mayor Eric Adams criticized the Biden administration's policies on the border. So some say that this is a kind of tit for tat political play where, because the Biden DOJ after Eric Adams, he's now sticking it to them and agreeing with the Biden administration's archenemy, Donald Trump.
In other big news in the US, it seems likely that the Supreme Court will uphold Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for children. In arguments that lasted more than 2 hours, 5 of the 6 conservative justice voices laid out varying degrees of scepticism by lawyers challenging the ban representing the Biden administration. They cited a lack of high-quality evidence that shows that the benefits of the treatment outweigh the risks. Of course, the risks we all know are huge. Look, a ruling is expected by late June 2025, but this ruling could affect other legal fights. Is that right?
That's right. And you know what is despicable? Our Department of Justice, using our taxpayer money, is suing the state of Tennessee, alleging that their statute, which forbids the so-called gender-affirming care, which is really gender-denying abuse, for minors, children under the age of 18, our taxpayer money is going towards that, saying that it is discrimination against trans youth. But you know what was even more despicable was that one of the Supreme Court justices, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was nominated to the court by President Biden, said in those arguments that the same people who are trying to forbid gender affirming care for minors have similar legal arguments to the ones that those who banned interracial marriages used. She's somehow drawing a parallel between banning interracial marriages and banning gender affirming care. It's complete legal gymnastics, and I think it's morally terrible.
Finally, Notre Dame Cathedral will reopen in Paris on Saturday, with the incoming US President Donald Trump to attend the ceremony 5 years after the devastating fire. This is going to be Donald Trump's first foreign trip since he won the election last month. What can we expect?
Well, you know, as bad of a reputation as Donald Trump gets with regard to our allies, many of them actually seem to like him because he demonstrates such strength on the world stage. So I expect that we'll have a good relationship with France. I know that Donald Trump issued some great remarks for Emmanuel Macron, praising the way that they have rebuilt that fantastic cathedral. So as much as the media likes to hound him, I think the evidence is that he will try to build a strong relationship with our NATO and EU ally.
Broadcaster and commentator Julie Hartman, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.